They say the night air in Damascus carries more than just the scent of jasmine. Some say it carries whispers of war, of betrayal, and of a curse that was never lifted. The year was 1148. The streets of Damascus were not unfamiliar with blood. For centuries, empires had come and gone, and the stones beneath the city's feet had absorbed more secrets than prayers. But none expected that the ancient city, fortified with walls of stone and centuries of resilience, would become the center of a forgotten tale, one that merged the known with the forbidden. The Second Crusade had arrived at its doorstep. Led by the most powerful kings in Christendom, Conrad III of Germany and Louis VII of France, the Crusaders were supposed to reclaim lost glory. Jerusalem was no longer enough. The Holy Land had to be purified, they claimed. Damascus was the next jewel they believed they had the divine right to possess. But the city wasn't just defended by soldiers. Hidden behind latticed windows and dusty alleyways, stories began to circulate among the people. Of a woman who was never seen by daylight. Of a figure who spoke in tongues older than Arabic. Of a shadow that moved through walls. The locals called her Al-Nair, the mother of fire. The Crusaders, when they heard of her, simply called her the Witch of Damascus. No one knew her real name. Some said she was a Persian sorceress who had fled centuries earlier from the Mongols. Others believed she was older than the city itself, an ancient spirit who had chosen to walk among the living. What they all agreed on was that the Witch of Damascus had once saved the city, and was about to do so again. As the Crusader armies gathered outside the city walls, something strange began to happen. Soldiers fell sick overnight. Not all at once, but just enough to instill fear. Meat spoiled in minutes. Water turned black in their flasks. Armor rusted, even though the skies were clear. But it wasn't just the Crusaders who noticed. Inside Damascus, an old blind merchant claimed he heard the call of owls at noon. A midwife found her child's shadow had vanished. And one soldier, a young knight from Burgundy, was found outside the camp, muttering in Latin and Aramaic, with his eyes burned out from within. When his tongue was finally cut to end his madness, he carved a single word into the ground with his finger, Ars Notoria, the forbidden name of a book of occult prayer. The Crusaders pressed on, determined. But Damascus, which should have fallen in days, held firm. The king's advisors began whispering of treachery, of spies, of poisons. But one Templar commander, Father Guillaume de Russie, believed something far darker was at work. He had read of the witch before, not in books of history, but in forbidden texts locked deep within the Vatican's catacombs. He claimed the church once exiled a sect of mystics from the East, women who merged early Christian mysticism with ancient Mesopotamian rituals. They were neither Muslim nor Christian. They were something else entirely, and one had disappeared, last seen heading east to Damascus. Guillaume urged the kings to abandon the siege, but pride had already dug its grave. One night, against the warnings of locals and even their own mercenaries, the Crusaders launched a surprise assault on the eastern walls. What they encountered was not resistance, but silence. No arrows, no screams, just fog. Thick, yellow fog that clung to the skin and whispered in voices they did not recognize. Some saw figures in the mist. Others claimed they were touched by hands that were not hands at all. When the fog cleared, hundreds lay dead. Not from blade or flame, but from fear. Their hearts had stopped. In the days that followed, mutiny spread within the Crusader camp. Allies turned on each other. Food ran out. And then, the rains came. Blood red, some say. It poured for a day and a night, and when it ended, the river near their camp had dried to bone. The siege was broken not by sword, but by something no one could explain. The Crusaders retreated in disgrace. But some secrets refused to remain buried. Years later, a scribe named Petros of Antioch found an old scroll in a hidden chamber beneath the Umayyad mosque. It was not in Arabic or Latin, but in cuneiform. He took it to a scholar in Constantinople who translated a portion of it. The scroll told the story of a woman who had once been a high priestess in Babylon, cursed to live until the final crusade fell. Her role? To protect the city of light from men of blood. The scholar laughed it off. But days later, he vanished. And so did the scroll. Today, few remember the siege of Damascus in 1148. Historians write it off as poor military strategy, strategic blunders, political divisions, but some still whisper of Al-Nar. They say if you walk the old quarter of Damascus at night, you may still see her shadow cast against walls where no one walks. Some say she watches the west still, waiting. Some say she never left, because the curse was never about killing soldiers. It was about breaking the crusade, and in that, she succeeded. So the next time someone tells you history is made by kings and armies, remember the Witch of Damascus. She never held a sword, but she won a war, and you'll never find her in your textbooks, because history doesn't forget her. It just fears her.